Welcome back, folks. Today, zooming in from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, our nation's capital, we have a real estate entrepreneur extraordinaire. He's so good at it. He actually coaches other people on how to do this stuff as well. Our guest today is El Señor Luis Rivas. Luis, welcome to the
Muchas
show. Great to have you.
gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Senor Dave. How are you?
I am fantastic. All the better to be chatting with you, my friend. And, we've got a little bit of a connection because I believe you're originally from Central America. I spent a lot of time down there myself. So why don't you start off telling us a little bit about your backstory, how you got to Canada, what you did prior to real estate investing, that side of the things.
Sure. I was born in Nicaragua in 1975, and shortly thereafter, a civil war broke out, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And in 78, my parents, they fled to Mexico. They had me, and it was because things were starting to get a little bit hairy, and then things calmed down a little bit. We went back to Nicaragua, and my dad had a high-profile job in the government. And in 1983, things started to flare up again, and so we immigrated to the States. And my father was working illegally, pumping gas, and it was really tough times in Miami, but I liked it. I preferred it to living in Nicaragua because I felt safer. So in 1985, we immigrated to Canada because of an immigration program. And so actually on August 15th was our anniversary. So just 2 days ago, or whenever this airs, it's kind of like our anniversary of coming to Canada. And so fast forward, I mean, I was prompted by my parents to, go to school, make the best of it. We came here for you, for the opportunity, go to school, get a job, the shtick.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I wanted to go to university, but
it had to be tough, Luis. And sorry, I'm jumping in here. I'm just really curious about your dad. I mean, going from that kind of a high profile position with all of the status, the financial rewards, all of that stuff that came along with that, to pumping gas at a gas station in Miami to put food on the table, not just financially, but just mentally, that must have been so tough for him and your mom, right? And then coming to Canada, I'm sure things were not easy, even though there was the path in there. Just out of curiosity, what did your parents do as you were growing up in Canada? Because the government job for him was probably out of the question.
Yeah, he was a deputy comptroller of Nicaragua when he left, and then he went to the States. He pumped gas. He came here, and he was a lawyer by education, but obviously he could not, unless he went through the whole process again. And he started trying to like re-educate himself. He tried, chef school. He did a lot of odd jobs for airlines. I remember he got laid off a lot and it was tough. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so only one income, and we were three boys growing up. We grew up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Ottawa, and that was tough.
Yeah.
So when I was telling you my story there at the beginning, I glazed over a lot of stuff that I don't often talk about.
Yeah, no, I just I can tell that there just must have been so much stuff going on. And it's interesting, Luis. I was just interviewing a gentleman that, he immigrated. He was an engineer in the Philippines, worked in Saudi Arabia as an engineer, came to Canada, had to work as a construction laborer because they wouldn't recognize his credentials. It's just so common. It breaks my heart. There's so many so much brain power comes to this country from overseas, but
only to be
we don't recognize it. It's
dumbed
just,
down. Yeah.
oh yeah. Okay. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's has very little to do with real estate investing, but it gives us a picture of how you grew up. So yeah, no doubt your mom and dad wanted you to go to good school, get good grades, get a good secure job. That's an immigrant parent's dream. That, or you become a doctor, or you become an
Mhm.
accountant, or a lawyer, or something like that. Nice, safe, and secure, right? So you don't have to get laid off. So what happened?
Exactly.
Yeah, what happened then?
So I managed to get a student internship in the federal government in the year 2000. And I don't know if you can remember back then, but like the dot-com bubble was starting to like pop a little bit.
Yeah,
So a lot of my classmates, they got jobs at Nortel,
yeah.
Compaq, JDS. Those were the big outfits in Ottawa, and I couldn't.
What were you taking at school at the time, Luis?
I was taking computer systems.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I've I took it. I joined it because I figured, computers is kind of like the way of the future. I got to college and I didn't even know how to format a floppy disk. It was that difficult for me, but
Yeah,
I said, you know what, this
better
is
force
this is
myself
it.
to do it.
We're gonna give it our go. And I took OHIP and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make the best of this. And then I landed a job. I landed a job in 2000 in the government, and I was kind of like, man, I want to work at Compaq and JDS and Nortel like all my buddies,
Making the big bucks.
I didn't. All I could
Mhm.
get was a job in the federal government. And then sure enough, about a year later, they all got laid off. And then they were calling me saying, can
They
you get
want to
me
get,
in?
yeah,
Can you get me in? Can you get me in?
for sure.
And I stuck it out in the federal government for 22 years. So
Holy crap.
yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, you know what? I've worked with several clients who work in the federal government or who have worked in the federal government. Lots of pros to it. Like it's about as safe and secure as a job gets. The benefits are outstanding. The
Mhm.
golden handcuffs are very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, my understanding is that the work environment is brain numbing. The politics, it's the government, the politics are horrendous. So maybe, without going into too much in depth, what did you like and what did you hate about the federal government working there?
Well, I met my wife there, and
Better
I
say you
said,
love that. You better.
I did. It was
Yeah.
the best thing I ever did in that job.
Yeah.
And we met early on, and I always used to say, I'm never going to date anybody at work because I don't want to do that. And sure enough, boom,
You did that.
we did. So I mean, I enjoyed the steady paycheck, but not much more in the
Yeah.
sense of like soulful fulfillment, and like, kind of like artistic expression. Like I didn't get a
Yeah.
chance.
Creativity. Yeah.
Everything was like you kind of have to toe the company line. And I always had things on the side. I always had side hustles and side projects and like MLMs, and I was always trying to like have
Branch out.
that thing, and
Yeah.
then I could leave. And I don't think I was looked upon favorably by my counterparts because I wasn't like towing that company line
Yeah.
and being 100% with the clique. And so I was always kind of dubbed a little bit differently, a little bit like like, oh, he's just not 100% in the game with us.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
So a little bit of an outsider feeling.
an outlier,
Yeah.
an
Outlier.
outsider kind of feeling. And so I never really felt like I was fulfilled.
Got
I
it.
was not fulfilled.
So at what point did real estate become a thing for you? What was that sparked that initial curiosity?
My wife and I bought a house, and it had a basement, a fully like separate entrance with like laundry, like a self-contained unit in the basement. And we rented it out. Back then it wasn't called house hacking. Now it's like house hacking. We had a basement apartment, and that was kind of like my first taste of like passive income, and it was absolutely intoxicating. That first of the month, that rent day dance, unless unless he was late on paying the rent, but it was my first taste. And then we bought two pre-construction condos, and we failed miserably. I mean, I shouldn't say we failed miserably. We just didn't pop the way I wanted to. I didn't underwrite any numbers. I didn't take into account cash flow. I was essentially, I wasn't investing, I was speculating. And that's what I tell
Right.
my students. I was speculating that
What year was that, if you don't mind sharing, Luis? We're in
that was
2023 right now. So
the
when did you
2015.
bought the
We
house?
we no 2009. What, 2004 we bought the house,
Okay.
and then 2013 and 2015 we bought two new condos
So
pre-construction.
all right. So just kind of a pastime type thing,
Yeah,
very side type thing
very
at the moment.
side type thing, very
Yeah.
passive.
So
And then the
when did you
condos
jump
came
in
on
and
board.
yeah, when did you jump in and really get the bug? What because you had those not so great experience with the condos. When did you get the real bug that this is what I want to do?
2018. My
And what happened? Yeah.
mentor came knocking, whom you know well.
Literally, I wouldn't doubt it. There's another Latino in Ottawa. I'm going to go knock on his door. No,
Yeah,
yeah. So our buddy Alfonso. Quadra.
Alfonso Cuadra, he
Yeah.
came knocking on my door, figuratively.
Yeah.
And I had already known him for many years, and he said, come to one of my boot camps, my real estate boot camps. And we had just sold the two condos, and I was really like down in the dumps and feeling kind of crappy about myself. And my wife said, go, like, what do you have to lose? This is your friend. And it changed my life. It completely changed my life. It was a 3-day boot camp, and I remember feeling feelings that I hadn't felt for a long time, hopeful and
Hope.
excited for the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So fast forward, where has your real estate investing journey taken you? So you had at that point, and what year was that again? Sorry, 2018.
2018.
So it's 2018. You've got you still have the house with the basement suite in it at that point, or you
No, we
nope.
sold
So
that house.
no
We sold
revenue
the house.
properties at that point. So
That's right. We just had our single family home where we still live in right now. And just a dream, just a drive,
yeah. So
just
what
ready to
does the
restart.
portfolio look like these days, Luis? What did you guys end up
So
doing?
right now we are at 81 doors.
Nice.
We sold 29 yesterday at the height of the market.
Mhm.
And later this year, we're going to be pouring the money from the 29 into a brand new build. So we're going to hit 120 doors later this year.
So you're
With
focusing on
partners.
with partners, yeah. Are you focusing on multifamily properties?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
What
focusing
kind of
on that.
size range do you guys work in or have in the portfolio?
20s and 30s, 20, 30 units. That's the
And
sweet spot. Anything over 16, 17.
that's a sweet spot. Why
Yeah.
is that the sweet spot in your estimation?
Because after 16, 17 units, the building can sustain having a full-time superintendent. The cash flow and the numbers can allow a superintendent, like a caretaker, to be on site,
Caretaker. Okay.
taking care of the property and doing kind of like minor property management, minor property management tasks.
Got it. All right, very good. So that's what you're focusing on. You're in and around Ottawa. Are the properties in Ottawa? Are they in Ontario? Are they in Alberta? Are they in the Maritimes? They're all over the place. Where do you guys hold your
They are in and around the Ottawa area, not in Ottawa because the cap rates don't make sense here. They're in secondary, tertiary markets like Thunder Bay, Brockville, and we own a 36 unit, which you're familiar with, in Saskatchewan. And I've never, ever set foot in the
Nice.
province. So
Not even in the province, much
not
less
even in
home.
the province, nothing against Saskatchewan. I'm actually like eager to visit,
Yeah.
but I've never set foot there. And so it expanded my mind and my confidence to invest in things that I don't necessarily touch
Yeah.
or see.
So let's rewind to 2018. What was your first revenue property investment after those condos?
A 21 unit building in Brockville, Ontario.
Very nice. Now, did you go in as an active partner, a passive partner? How did that deal kind of look?
I went in as a managing partner, and I brought capital to the table. So we got, I guess you could say, like a little bit of the double dip
Mhm.
there. Yeah, pretty scary. I remember losing sleep for about a week prior
Yeah.
to the close. And but then the market just went bonkers,
Yeah.
and we haven't looked back.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful, Luis. What year was that you got that first one? Was that 2018, 2019?
We did an agreement for sale in 2019, and then we closed in 2020, kind of like when COVID was like red hot, like
Yeah.
red hot.
Scary time.
Yeah,
No wonder you lost sleep. Everybody's going, what's going on here? Yeah.
right.
Amazing. Amazing. So what are the plans for moving ahead, Luis? What are the goals?
Well, I'm as you mentioned earlier, I'm a real estate coach as well. So I have students, and I'm a coach with Wealth Genius, and I'm fully committed to this crusade, this initiative, and I'm just here to help the business grow
Mhm.
wherever it goes, wherever it takes us. Yeah.
And what about your portfolio yourself? What are your real estate investing goals?
My real estate investing, because I also do private lending.
Mhm.
So, my goals are to private lend as much as possible, as much as I can, and still like not surpass the tax, the implications, and just keep adding to the multifamily portfolio. I'm a boring investor, buy and hold. My idea of a perfect BRRRR is you buy it and you set it and you forget it until it's time to renew, and just let natural turnover organically. That's my perfect BRRRR. I don't really subscribe or have time to do the active, like crazy renovations and force the appreciation. I don't have time or energy for that.
Yeah, you're looking at things long term. So with the few years that you've been doing this, Luis, what have you found has worked best for attracting joint venture partners, passive investors, private lenders, capital for your deals?
Well, having really good deals is really key. Obviously, if the deal is sexy, it's gonna sell itself. And I always tell my students, there's two important things. If you like the deal, it's a check. And if you like the person, it's a check. So I always aim to handle myself with a lot of professionalism and due diligence. I pride myself on like underwriting, but I always try and keep an aura of like fun
Mhm.
and playfulness. And I find that if you my favorite style is to sell past the prospect. So if I was trying to land you as a client, maybe I feel like, man, Dave would really, really be good for this project. He would really love it. I would say something like, Dave, could you please help me find some potential investors for this deal?
Indirect.
Uh,
Mhm.
and I try not to use the word deal. I try to use the word opportunity. I'm offering an opportunity,
Mhm.
and I'd like your help to help me find some potential investors. Can you help me? And then I present the deal, and you kind of take it away a little bit. It's a little bit of reverse psychology, and then oftentimes the prospect will say, well, what about me? Oh, okay, well,
Well,
why not?
yeah, exactly. Wasn't thinking that at all, but hey, now that you bring it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one style. Another one is offering equity for people to help bring in investors,
Mhm.
share the wealth.
Yeah.
I think a lot of investors are out there trying to keep as much of the equity as possible. And my mentor is always, he's always very good to share and kind of give away some of the deal. This will attract so many investors that when they get their capital back, they're ready for that next deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the best thing to do is to have other deals in the waiting, so that it's almost like hopscotch, or like a what is that, a frog game, that leapfrog?
Yeah.
So you're just going from
Yeah.
investment
Hopscotch,
to
I think. Yeah.
investment,
Yeah.
investment to investment. And I really like the overfunding as a tool to create FOMO. So I always tell my students, overfund. And
So what
then,
do you define overfund for us, if you would?
so let's say you have a raise of half a mil,
Mhm.
and you raise 700,000, just in case some of your investors pull out,
Flake out. Yeah, definitely.
they flake
Yeah.
out, whatever happens, life happens. But let's say they don't, and so you're overfunded, and you say to the 200,000, some of them, you say, sorry, like, we can't put you in this deal, we're overfunded, I'm really sorry. This creates like an aura of the FOMO can be intense. You could risk upsetting them, but I think the right investor is going to say, holy geez, well, if you overfunded, like, this must be a hot deal.
Yeah.
And so you say, well,
They jump on the next one.
let's work the next one. Let's get
Yeah.
you in the next one, so that you're ready.
Yeah.
You're first in line.
Smart stuff, Luis. If people want to get more of Luis Rivas, where do they go? What should they do?
Yeah, you can find me at cashflow.rivas at gmail.com is my email. And that's also my handle on YouTube, cashflow.rivas. And my channel is Rivas Real Estate Investments.
Awesome. Well, Luis, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing your experience, your journey. Very inspirational. Um, yeah, gotta appreciate our parents for what they've done for us. That's for sure. It's pretty amazing. Congratulations on your success with real estate investing and helping other people along the line as well. One last important question for you, Luis. I'm not sure the next time will be when I go to Ottawa, but when I do, I hope I can hit you up and you can show me a really good place for bigaron.
Mm. Unfortunately, there's no Nicaraguan food in
No.
Ottawa.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I know. It sounds like you've been to Granada in Nicaragua, because that's their dish. But we might be able to help you out with some pupusas.
Well, that's from El Salvador.
Yes, yes, it's the next best thing I could think of.
Actually, most of the bigaron I've ever had was in Costa Rica. That was
Okay.
yeah, because a lot of Nicaraguans went there. But
Oh yes.
yes, definitely miss it. Good stuff.
Uh,
Luis, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate you.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll talk to you on the next episode.